a warrior queen and her female companions vow to exact revenge on the tyrannical ruler who destroyed her village and imprisoned her people. On a clear sunny day, a beautiful woman named Taramis is picking flowers by the riverbed when she's suddenly attacked and taken advantage of by two barbarians. Meanwhile, a peaceful village is preparing for a wedding. Prince Argan and his companion Strymon meet the villagers, who congratulate him on his marriage. In another hut, Queen Amethea and her handmaidens are also preparing themselves for the ceremony. She asks Tinyara, one of her warriors, about her younger sister Taramis' whereabouts, but the woman is unaware and surmises she's still out picking flowers for the wedding. Her handmaiden, Estrild, volunteers to search for Taramis. After forcing themselves upon Amethea's younger sister, the assailants take her as their prisoner and force her to lead them back to her village. Estrild then arrives at the riverbed and searches for Taramis but doesn't find her. Later, a group of barbarians viciously attack their settlement while their leader, Lord Arrakur, oversees. Meanwhile, a bound Taramis looks on, terrified as her people are assaulted and killed. Hearing the chaos, Estrild runs back only to find the village under siege and begins to cry defeatedly. Prince Argan and Strymon fight and manage to fight back against the savages, but are eventually overpowered and held to the ground. The barbarians then make their way to the queen's hut, but she and her handmaiden fight them off. Amethea then sees the chaos outside and is dismayed when she finds her fiancé held captive by the enemies. She joins the fray and takes out one of the assailants who was trying to violate Tinyara. She's then surrounded by the enemy, so she returns inside the hut and sets it on fire. The large fire causes the barbarians to cease their attack and retreat. However, the unaware prince looks despondent, believing his fiancée to have perished in the flames. The assailants then take him and the rest of the survivors as prisoners, leaving the settlement in ruins. A tearful Estrild comes out of hiding and is relieved to find the queen alive because she hid beneath a trap door under the hut. Amethea is dismayed at the sight of the death and destruction of her village and vows to take revenge on Lord Arrakur. The two women then prepare their boat and find Tinyara, thankful she'd survived her assailants. The trio make their way downriver to follow the barbarians that attack them. Later, Estrild tries to fish for food, but she's horrified when she discovers a decapitated head in her basket. Amethea then spots a small camp ahead and quickly realizes it belongs to Arrakur's men. Furious, she paddles harder, and the trio stealthily make their way to the encampment. At the station, a tied-up wounded woman is being mocked by a barbarian. He's about to violate her when Amethea swiftly stabs him in the neck with her broadsword. Moments later, Tinyara distracts one of the men while Amethea shoots an arrow at him from the roof, taking him out. She then jumps to the river, bringing one of the men along with her and disposes of him in the murky water. Another man sees the skirmish and follows her to the river, where they fight. On shore, Tinyara engages in a heated sword battle and manages to kill the soldier. Fueled by rage, Amethea finally overpowers her opponent and slashes his throat. After the carnage, Estrild, a non-warrior, tries to tend to the mortally wounded woman, but to no avail. Meanwhile, Tinyara investigates the base and is shocked to discover Taramis cowering in the corner. Overjoyed to find her younger sister alive, Amethea rushes to hug her, and the traumatized Taramis demands to go home. Estrild tries to explain that their village was destroyed, but Taramis insists, convinced their people are waiting for them. Not realizing the wounded woman is dead, Taramis tells Estrild to let her rest. Amethea tries to knock some sense into her, but her younger sister doesn't listen and asserts they go back to their village lest they be hunted down again. Estrild makes it clear they no longer have a home to return to, which infuriates Amethea since they can always build a new village. She then reiterates her vow to slay Arrakur's forces and she won't stop until they've all perished. Soon, the women resume their journey on horseback. Night comes and the group stops to make camp. Estrild complains about how their food isn't to her liking. To convince her to eat, Amethea and Tinyara explain that the little children of the forest will consume her if she doesn't. With no other choice, she obliges while the rest try to sleep. The following day, the women continue riding when they're suddenly ambushed. However, they reveal that they're villagers who had survived Arrakur's attacks, and Amethea admonishes them for trying to kill her group despite having a common enemy. Realizing Amethea's party can help them, they agree to assist in smuggling them into the city with a kid named Daryak as their guide. While they prepare, Estrild recounts that during her childhood, she tried to kill a bear to impress her father, but backed out at the last minute when she saw how big a real bear was. Tinyara explains that they're no longer little girls and have to be brave, and Amethea concurs explorers. The group then follows Daryak into a creek and hides behind the tall reeds while some men patrol nearby. Tinyara realizes that Taramis has fallen behind because she fell asleep. She tries calling out to her, but Taramis wakes up screaming, and the group tries to silence her so she doesn't give their location away. Daryak reveals herself to the patrolling men, and after they realize she's a teenager, they let her pass. The men leave, and Daryak leads the women to the catacombs, where they find Daryak's father and the rest of the resistance. However, the man doesn't allow them to pass, as neither party is equipped for the war. Amethea is insistent on her cause, so he reluctantly lets them through. Daryak hands them cloaks for their disguises and leads them to the city gates. Amethea spots Argan and the rest of the men taken from her village practicing in a small arena nearby. Daryak explains that they're now gladiators, and Amethea asks how she can speak to them, but the teen says it's impossible. Elsewhere, Taramis manages to break away from Estrild and runs off. Realizing Taramis is gone, Estrild tries to find her but gets lost herself. Estrild then locates Tinyara and tells her of the situation, and they try searching for Taramis. While asking a blind fortune teller, they make a scene that draws the attention of two guards. The two women then split, and the men follow Estrild across the city. They corner her in an isolated area and take advantage of her. Tinyara returns to Amethea and Daryak to inform them that Taramis has gone missing. Realizing their situation has gone awry, Amethea orders Daryak to return to her father. Later, Arrakur and his troops arrive outside of his castle. Taramis tries to approach him, but a guard stops her. However, Arrakur sees this and allows her to enter his premises. Amethea spots her sister and tries to chase after her, but Tinyara intervenes. Frustrated that she can't help either her fiancé or sister, Amethea comes to Estrild's aid after spotting her being dragged away by two guards. The two women cause a scene by coming to Estrild's defense, which draws in more men. They try to fight them off, but are overpowered and are taken to Arrakur's dungeons. Tinyara is then interrogated by Arrakur himself, who tries to fish out the rebels' location. Tinyara vehemently denies being a rebel, so Arrakur has the tormentor tie her up and threaten her with fire. Daryak, having observed their struggle, runs back to the gate to inform her father of the women's situation. However, the man is steadfast and refuses to assist them in their fight, but Daryak asserts they help the women's cause. Arrakur then goes to Amethea's cellar to interrogate her about the rebels who helped them. Arrakur demands Amethea to remove her clothes, but she refuses to follow his orders. Angered, Arrakur pulls her top off and tries to kiss her, but Amethea bites his face. Enraged, Arrakur orders his guards to take her to the dungeon. At the other cellar, Tinyara is still being interrogated with fire. However, she manages to escape her ties and attacks her tormentor. Tinyara knocks him down and tries to flee, but is fatally stabbed by another guard. The tormentor attempts to wring out information from her one last time, but she dies without giving any information away. Later, Arrakur makes his way outside to talk to the gladiator's overseer, who informs him that the men have potential to become rebels. The overseer suggests they hire one of the gladiators to spy for them, to which Arrakur readily agrees. At the castle, Estrild is forced to become a part of Arrakur's harem and is led to the gladiator's room to serve them. A bald gladiator tries to hit on her, but Argan intervenes and saves her. He leads her to a private room, where she informs him that the four women came into the city to rescue them. Unaware that Amethea was caught, Estrild explains that his fiancé is with the rebels who currently lack the forces to take down Arrakur. Strymon joins them, and Argan feels optimistic the rest of the gladiators will fight for their cause if it guarantees their freedom. Later, the overseer tasks the bald gladiator to spy on his teammates for signs of a potential rebellion. He's initially hesitant, but the overseer offers to give him women, better food, and gold, which ultimately convinces him. Daryak and her father then make their way back to the catacombs. She recounts the days when they were free, but he dismisses her, saying she'll only understand the difficulty of the situation once she's older. However, Daryak asserts that Amethea is their only hope of freedom, and her father finally relents. Arrakur summons Taramis to the throne room because he recognized her from the village. He tries to ask how she wound up in the city, but instead of answering, Taramis asks for a pet. Arrakur lets it slide and leads her to his bed before sending away the previous woman. In the dungeon, Amethea is tormented while clothless. The chief tormentor shows her his devices and taunts her with water in exchange for information. Arrakur and Taramis, his new concubine, arrive to see if Amethea has given anything away. However, she refuses to speak, prompting Arrakur to let the chief tormentor continue his methods to break her. Meanwhile, Taramis pretends not to know her. Before leaving, Arrakur demands answers from Amethea by morning. At the arena, Argan conspires with the other gladiators to take up arms against Arrakur during their pre-matches, while the tyrant and his concubine observe them from above. Unbeknownst to him, the bald gladiator plans to leak his plans to Arrakur. After Strymon wins his round, Argan finalizes the move during Sunday's main event. At the dungeon, the chief tormentor takes advantage of Amethea, but she uses her feminine strength to squeeze his member painfully, which forces him to release her from her chains. She then pushes him into a pool of acid before escaping. At the gladiators' lounge room, Estrild eats while the rest of the women wait for the men. Estrild is then approached by their overseer, who admonishes her for overeating and leads all of the women outside. Estrild is singled out by one of the guards to personally meet with Arrakur, who has taken a liking to her. Later, as the gladiators prepare for bed, Argan shares his plans of having Estrild relay their uprising to the rebels with the bald gladiator. The traitor suggests he go with Estrild to meet with the resistance, but Argan declines. Meanwhile, Strymon manages to cut the bars off their window. Moments later, the women arrive in the room, and Argan becomes visibly worried when he doesn't see Estrild among them. Elsewhere, Estrild flirts with the guard. As she's sweet-talking to him, she deftly grabs his knife and stabs him in the throat. Concurrently, Amethea makes her way to the hallways, where she runs into Estrild. Amethea tells her of Tiniara's death, and Estrild informs her about the gladiators' planned uprising. Confused, Amethea wonders if the rebels were made aware of Argan's plans, but Estrild grabs her to lead her back to the gladiators' room. Arrakur discovers that Amethea has escaped and orders his troops to find her. However, the two women manage to evade his forces and return to the room, only to find it guarded by one of Arrakur's men. Estrild distracts the guard while Amethea kills him. Estrild then goes back to Argan and Strymon, while Amethea escapes another way. Estrild informs them of the plans so far, and is confident the rebels will assist them. Estrild tries to leave, but the door is locked, so she decides to crawl out the window to escape. Meanwhile, Amethea has made her way outside and jumps from the castle walls. Estrild flees the castle when she stumbles upon Daryak's father. She informs him of Argan's agenda, but Daryak's father insists that neither of them is ready. Amethea returns to the city gates and finds Daryak waiting for her. They then go to the catacombs and find Estrild arguing with her father that they must push through since they currently have no means of communication with the gladiators. The man sees his daughter and finally decides to go along with the women's plan. On Sunday, the rebels station themselves by the arena where the gladiatorial games are held. As Arrakur gives the opening speech, Taramis spots Amethea in the crowd but feels nothing. He then welcomes the first two contestants, Argan and the bald gladiator. Meanwhile, Estrild wants to move, but Amethea objects, since they have to wait for Argan's signal first. As they're about to fight, the bald gladiator reveals his scheme to Argan. Arrakur's forces then swarm the gladiators and the rebels, keeping them at knife point. Two men grab Amethea and are about to offer in front of Arrakur, when Daryak arrives and hands her a sword. She then gives the signal, and the rebellion begins. The bald gladiator fights Argan in hand-to-hand combat, and the prince takes out the traitor. Meanwhile, Amethea makes her way toward Arrakur, and they engage in a heated sword fight, while a terrified Taramis watches. However, Amethea is overpowered and disarmed by the stronger Arrakur. Before the tyrant can deliver the final blow, Taramis rushes over and stabs him in the back, killing him. The oppressed people witness the demise of the tyrant and begin celebrating their city's liberation.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.